When Erick sent me to prison, he rarely showed a trace of tenderness as he tried to persuade me. Do your time and make amends. My son and I will wait for you to come home. 3 years later, when I got out of prison, I only had my last 3 days of life left to say goodbye to them. Chapter 1. The day I walked out of prison was the dead of winter. On Laba Festival, and goose down like snowflakes settled all over me. Wearing the same thin shirt I had taken off when I first entered prison, I stood there shivering, looking at the free world outside. Everything felt so unreal. A Cullinan was parked out front. My husband, Erick, walked to the passenger side holding an umbrella. Selena stepped out like some fairy untouched by the mortal world. And my son Lucas jumped out from the back seat, clutching Selena's hand tightly. The 3 of them looked warm and harmonious. Just like a family of 3. Diana, this time you should know you were wrong, right? I'm here to take you home. Erick's cool voice made me shake my head almost mechanically. That's not my home. I'm going back to my own home. Erick looked at me and frowned slightly. Chapter 2. He had always known that I was a transmigrator, that I did not belong to this world. Back then, after I successfully won over the second male lead villain, Erick, the man standing before me now, I should have left this world. But I unexpectedly got pregnant. He begged me over and over to stay, and I softened. But once the passion faded, I became nothing more than an annoying bloodstain on the wall. After his white moonlight heroine, Selena, returned from abroad, the 2 of them were like ice crashing into fire, spiraling completely out of control. Their relationship was obviously murky, yet they kept insisting they were innocent. Even my only blood-related son in this world kept clamoring for a new mother every day. Between my husband and my son, I became the extra one, the unnecessary one. Seeing that I still wasn't moving, Erick gently nudged Lucas. Call her mom. Lucas was already 8 years old. That face of his was as beautiful as his father's. But now he looked at me with open disgust and shook his head. I'm not calling her mom. She's a bad mom. She's always bullying Aunt Selena. With that serene, gentle air of someone living in perfect peace, Selena reached out and stroked Lucas's hair. Be good, Lucas. Even if mom did something wrong, that doesn't change the fact that she's your mother. And besides, Auntie has already forgiven your mom. Only then did Lucas, as if forced into it, stiffly call out, Mom. Erick seemed to think the child could keep me in line and make me obedient. After all, I was the one who had done wrong, and the fact that the child was still willing to call me mom was already generous enough. I should have been grateful and content. But he was wrong. I wanted neither him nor my son anymore. Chapter 3. In prison, I used 5 years of my lifespan to restart the system. Wanting to leave this world, the system said that because there was a prison record, I could not leave the world for no reason, and could only wait until the day I got out to use the function to leave this world and go home. During those 3 years, I did not receive a single visit. A beautiful inmate with no relatives outside to help provide living supplies was someone anyone in prison could bully. I was pressed into the toilet by the prison bully and forced to drink dirty water. My bed was splashed with water, and I could only endure the damp cold and sleep on it. I did not dare tell the guards, or the prison bullies would only torment me even more. In despair, I seemed to go mad and began talking to myself. I was broken into a tireless robot in prison, endlessly laboring and being reformed, and finally earned a sentence reduction and got out half a year early. I did not question why Erick had not trusted me back then. I did not rush over to take revenge on Selena for harming me so badly. I did not even spare a glance for my ungrateful son. My dry, peeling lips made a hoarse sound. Activate system. Leave world. Ding. Countdown to leave world. 3 days. My voice was very soft, but Erick heard every word. His face instantly turned livid. But after the air stood still for a full minute, I was still standing there just fine. Only then did Erick's gloomy expression settle down, though the look in his eyes gained a trace of impatience. Have you made enough of a scene? Get in the car. Selena's leg was injured before. She can't stand the cold. My gaze shifted to Selena's right leg in her white down jacket. 3 years ago, I only wanted to warn her not to get close to my husband again. Instead, she turned around and jumped from the 2nd floor, breaking her bone, and pointed at me and said I was the culprit. She used a ballerina's leg to condemn me to death, and my dear son watched the whole thing from behind the door. I clutched at him like a life-saving straw. hoping he would testify for me. But my son cried and said, "I saw Mom push Aunt Selena." Thinking of that, I could not help shivering. So cold. She lived in luxury and could not bear the cold, while I starved and froze in prison. At this moment, I did not want to look at the nauseating trio for even one more second. I hunched my body and walked away in the snow, one step deep and one step shallow, heading in the opposite direction. Chapter 4. Perhaps he had not expected the once clingy, noisy Diana to become this cold. Erick's eyes darkened. He handed the umbrella to Selena, quickly came to my side, and grabbed my arm hard, only to loosen his grip in shock at how skin and bone my wrist felt. "How did you get this thin? Were you still throwing tantrums and refusing to eat in prison? Whose sympathy are you trying to win?" "Eat?" I thought of the sand the inmates put in my food in prison. I did not answer Erick. Instead, I quickened my pace. I had only one thought: escape all of this. Yet my wrist was grabbed again, hurting terribly. Erick was very strong. I felt like my wrist was about to break. I screamed and struggled like a madwoman, with a tearing sound. The sleeve of my thin shirt was ripped open, exposing the scars on my arm left by the abuse of the inmates. Shocking to look at. The most horrifying was the huge scar left when the prison bully whipped away an entire chunk of flesh until it rotted. Erick's pupils shrank, and holding my hand, he furiously demanded, "How did you end up like this?" His voice frightened me so badly that I trembled all over. By reflex, I hugged my head with one hand and curled up. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. "Don't hit me. Please don't hit me." Erick froze. He realized this was not damage I had deliberately inflicted on myself in prison. "You." Sensing the restraint on my wrist loosen, I broke free and scrambled forward, crawling and stumbling like a stray dog, not even caring that one of my shoes had fallen off. "Diana!" Erick shouted behind me, but I did not look back. Weak as I was, I had not run far before Erick caught up to me and pinned me down in the snow. Looking at that familiar face so close to me, in a daze I saw the day we had just gotten married. He pinned me on the bed and held me, as if he wanted to knead me into his body, his breath falling on my face. "Diana, I love you. My life is yours." Chapter 5. "Diana, are you insane? I think you belong in a psychiatric hospital, not in prison." That furious shout snapped me back to my senses. At that moment, Selena came trotting over with Lucas in tow, panting as she patted her chest. "Erick, don't get angry. Sister-in-law just got out of prison, so she may still not be adjusted. Don't hold it against her. Hurry and get her into the car. It's too cold. My right leg is starting to hurt a little." Erick's tone instantly softened. "Selena, get in the car first. Don't catch a chill. I'll tie her up and throw her into the car." "Okay." Selena obediently left with Lucas. Erick was very strong, and I was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. With one hand, he could control both of my flailing arms. He was just about to yank the belt from his waist to use as a rope when, from the corner of his eye, he accidentally caught sight of the gaunt bones at my collarbone and froze for a moment. Only then did he seem to notice that, in weather more than 10 degrees below freezing, I was wearing nothing but a thin shirt, lying in the snow with all my skin red from the cold and my lips turning bluish purple. You brought this suffering on yourself." Even then, he still couldn't say anything kind, yet as if he couldn't quite bear it. Erick took off his warm overcoat and wrapped it around me, then lifted me in his arms and carried me toward the car. When he pulled open the front passenger door, Selena was sitting in that seat, speaking in an aggrieved voice. "Erick, you know I get carsick. I have to sit in the front." Lucas immediately spoke up for Selena. "Aunt Selena always sits in Dad's front seat. Why should Aunt Selena have to give up her place the second that bad woman comes?" Erick's brows knit slightly. "Then let your mom sit in the back." Lucas sprawled his whole body across the back seat. "No, she smells bad. I don't want to sit with her." The child said something so contemptuous about his own mother. Yet I had no reaction at all. I was so cold that I unconsciously curled up in Erick's arms to steal warmth. Feeling my movement, Erick lowered his head and frowned slightly at me, but then he realized that I had shown no emotion at all toward the child's outrageous words. As if that child were a complete stranger to me, an instant wave of irritability rose in Erick's chest. "Shut up." Lucas immediately sat obediently and didn't dare make another sound. Faced with Selena, who was still sitting in the front passenger seat and refusing to move. Erick coaxed her patiently. Selena, I can't just leave Diana behind. How about I call you a car? Selena lowered her head aggrievedly. After a few seconds of silence, she got up from the front passenger seat and moved to the back. I know, once sister-in-law comes back, I can't keep hogging Erick's front seat anymore. It doesn't matter who sits in the front seat, but if you like it, then in the future I'll get another car just for you so you can sit in the front seat there. All right? Selena gave a proud little huff. That's more like it. Listening to my husband flirt and banter with his mistress, I, the lawful wife, was like air, my heart calm and without the slightest ripple. Chapter 6. Erick bent down, placed me in the front passenger seat, fastened my seat belt, and, unexpectedly considerate, pulled the coat more snugly around me before driving away. When we returned to what used to be my home, I remained motionless, like a puppet, as Erick carried me and placed me back on the bed. This bed was no longer the original one. He had probably found the old one disgusting after I went to prison and replaced it. The heat was turned up high. I was so tired, so very tired, that I drifted off in a daze. When I opened my eyes, it was pitch black beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. I looked up at the clock on the bedside table. It was 10:50 at night, and my stomach was growling with hunger. Weakly propping myself up, I staggered toward the kitchen to look for something to eat. The moment I opened the door, I crashed into a solid chest. Like a startled chick, I jumped back, muttering over and over, "I'm sorry. Don't hit me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Erick stood there in silence for a long time, then finally crouched down and comforted me softly. "Don't be afraid. You're home now." Home? I looked up blankly and scanned my surroundings, only then realizing that I had already left prison. I shoved Erick away with force and roared at him. "This isn't my home. This isn't my home. I want to go back to my own home." My words enraged Erick. He seized my shoulders hard and declared in a tone that left no room for argument, "This is your home, Diana. You'd better wake up." I looked at his eyes, dark as ink and bottomless, and replied in a hoarse voice, "I'm very clear-headed. This is your and Selena's home." A mocking look appeared on Erick's face. He thought I was throwing another fit over Selena. Coldly, he flung my shoulders aside, stood up, and stared down at me. "As things stand, you have no right to judge who I'm with. But don't worry, I won't divorce you, because I promise to take care of you for the rest of your life. So just behave and be your missus." Erick, put away your crooked thoughts and stop doing disgusting things. I lifted my head and looked at Erick with hollow eyes, like a robot that had lost its soul. I did not question him hysterically, go mad, or panic the way I used to, because I realized that I truly didn't love him anymore. At that moment, the only thing I could feel was the hunger in my body. "I'm hungry." Chapter 7. Erick's expression froze, as though his punch had landed in cotton, leaving him with a powerless sense of frustration. After kicking over a chair to vent his emotions, he lifted me from the floor in his arms and set me on the bed. "You got out of prison today, so it counts as a good day. I had the cook make the chicken wings you love." Chicken wings were my favorite? How ironic. I didn't actually like chicken wings. It was because that damned child liked them. So I had learned all kinds of ways to make chicken wings and ate them too. But I had no strength to argue with him. I was hungry. I followed Erick to the kitchen, only to see Selena and Lucas at the dining table, each holding a chicken wing and munching away with relish. Beside them lay a small pile of chicken wings with the skin stripped off but meat still left on them. When they saw Erick come over, both of them praised him without reservation. "Dad, this is the first time I've ever eaten chicken wings you made. They're so good." I didn't expect Erick to be such a good cook. I couldn't help sneaking a few. Hee. I let out a cold laugh. These two had done it on purpose. They would rather ruin all the chicken wings and throw them away than let me eat them. But strangely, Erick had said the cook made them, while the two of them said Erick had made the chicken wings. Whatever. Even if Erick had made them himself. So what? He owed me a debt he could never repay in this lifetime. Erick frowned at the wasted chicken wings and, for some reason, remembered how Diana used to make many dishes every day that he and the child liked. During meals, she was always nagging the child not to toss food around and not to waste grain. At the time, their son found her annoying. Now it seemed Diana had been right. The child really had no manners. But Erick had always been tolerant toward Selena, and even the Lucas beside her, who was deliberately stirring up trouble, was not scolded. Instead, he turned to me and said, "There are still eggs and tomatoes in the fridge. You can cook them yourself." Hearing that she could order me around, Selena smiled prettily. "Sister-in-law, make some for me too." "Thank you, sister-in-law." Lucas joined in on the jeering. "Bad woman. I want some too. Hurry up." I ignored the two clowns completely and looked at Erick with calm but firm eyes. "Either you go cook it properly, or let me leave. I'm not so desperate for this one bite of food from you, sister-in-law. I can order takeout for you." Erick made fried chicken for me and Lucas today, so he's already very tired. As she spoke, Selena took out her phone and asked, "Sister-in-law, do you want spicy hot pot skewers? They're delicious. Or maybe fish with pickled greens, or barbecue. You couldn't get any of those in prison, right?" I turned a deaf ear. Why should I pay any attention to a clown? Selena kept talking to herself for a while before awkwardly shutting up on her own. Erick knew me very well. After all, during the passionate days of our relationship, he really had been a good man. He knew that all the dishes Selena had just mentioned were junk food to me, and this was also the first time he had seen me this resolute. As if the moment I was refused, I would leave without the slightest hesitation. Erick compromised. "Sit for a while, I'll go cook." With stars in her eyes, Selena watched Erick's back as he walked into the kitchen and praised him. "Sister-in-law, I'm so jealous that you married such a wonderful Erick." Hearing Selena's chatter gave me a headache. "Shut up. No one thinks you're dead just because you stopped talking." Selena looked so pitiful it would stir pity in anyone who saw her. Lucas, like a calf protecting its mother, charged at me and shouted, "Bad woman. You're not allowed to bully Aunt Selena. Be careful or I'll tell Dad and make him lock you up again." To be fair, after I gave birth to Lucas naturally, I raised him myself, fed him myself, and stayed up through countless nights. When he got sick, I wished I could suffer in his place. And what did that get me? I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. It was the first time I had ever hit him. Lucas covered his cheek, his face full of disbelief. "You ungrateful little brat. From now on, you are not my son. Go ahead and call any random stray your mother. It has nothing to do with me." "Sister-in-law, how could you hit Lucas? He's still just a child. He doesn't understand." I picked up a chopstick from the table and stabbed it into the tabletop again and again, making a chilling thud-thud-thud sound. "Bitch, do you know that if you strike hard enough, even a chopstick can pierce a throat? If you dare say one more word, just try me." Both of them were frightened by the vicious look in my eyes. Selena believed I really was capable of doing it. After all, she knew perfectly well that what she had done was enough to make me want to kill her. Chapter 8. Erick was a man who had clawed his way up from the bottom, and his cooking was quite good. Very soon, he brought out 3 bowls of noodles and set them on the table, seeing Selena and Lucas looking silent and aggrieved, as if too frightened to speak. He frowned tightly. "Diana, if you have a problem, take it out on me. Don't vent your anger on other people." I let out a cold laugh. "You're overthinking it. I only want to wish the 3 of you a lifetime of being stuck together. How could I possibly have any objections?" After that, I stopped bothering with them, took the bowl of noodles, and started eating in big mouthfuls. Why shouldn't I eat? This was what he owed me. After only a few bites, Lucas put down his chopsticks. He had already filled up on chicken wings. "Lucas, if you don't finish tonight, you're not leaving." Lucas was so frightened that he immediately lowered his head and kept eating noodles, regretting why he had spoken at all. Selena looked at the noodles and already felt too full. Eating noodles so late at night was bad for digestion and made it easy to gain weight. She had only wanted to torment Diana before, because Diana certainly would not cook for her, and then she could act wronged and complain to Erick. But now the noodles had been cooked by Erick himself, and she had asked for them. Whether she wanted to or not, she had to eat. Selena could only force herself to eat half a bowl of noodles, then patted her stomach and acted cute and playful. I'm full." Erick smiled indulgently. "It's fine. If you don't want to eat, then don't." When Lucas heard that, he also wanted to say he was full, But one look from Erick scared him so badly that he didn't dare make a sound. I slurped down the entire bowl of noodles, stood up, and prepared to leave at once. The unwashed pot, the unwiped table, the unwashed bowls, what did any of that have to do with me? Whoever couldn't stand it could do it themselves. It had nothing to do with me. The cook had already gotten off work. Seeing that I was about to leave, Selena had clearly not expected that Diana, who had once been such a virtuous wife and loving mother, would just eat and walk away. If Diana left, who was going to wash the dishes? Although her leg could no longer dance ballet, her hands were still maintained every 3 days. White and tender, letting them touch grease and grime was practically unbearable. Selena couldn't help opening her mouth. Sister-in-law, when you're at home, don't you clean up after yourself? Now that I had eaten my fill, I also had the energy to snap back. If you hadn't said anything, I would have thought this was your house. Otherwise, why do you stay here every single day and refuse to leave? But it doesn't matter. I'm giving this house to you now. So hurry up and wash the dishes, scrub the pot, and wipe the table clean. Erick has a slight obsession with cleanliness. Don't tell me you can't even manage something this small. Sister-in-law, don't misunderstand. Looking at Selena's pitiful little white flower expression, I knew she was about to spout more fake innocence. Having suffered enough from her in the past, I had naturally learned my lesson. I turned and left, not giving her the chance to spout any more pretentious coquette nonsense. Selena felt stifled. She really wanted to say they could wait until the cook came in tomorrow and cleaned everything, but she had built herself up as gentle, thoughtful, and domestic. If she couldn't even wash a few dishes, how was she supposed to become Lucas's stepmother? Selena forced a gentle smile. Erick, go get some rest. Leave the rest to me. Erick frowned and let out a brief then stood up and left. In the dining area, Lucas saw that his father had gone and absent-mindedly followed after him, leaving Selena alone to clean up the chicken wings and kitchen waste scattered all over the table, her face full of disgust. Chapter 9. Second floor bedroom of the villa. I screamed and grabbed everything within reach, hurling it at Erick. Get out of here. Don't touch me. Although I resisted with all my strength, the difference in force was too great. Erick still caught my thin wrist, pinned both my hands above my head, and pressed me onto the bed so I could not move. Diana, I only want to see how the injuries on your body are. I glared at Erick viciously, wishing I could bite through his throat. Seeing the resentment and hatred in my eyes, a trace of surprise flashed through Erick's gaze. He couldn't understand how the woman who had once loved him with her life could now look at him like that. Irritation rose in Erick's heart. Stop challenging my limits. What right do you have to throw a tantrum? Going to prison was your own fault. Don't make it sound like I was the one who sent you there. Everyone has already forgiven you. So stop being so ungrateful. When I heard Erick say that prison was my own fault, I laughed. I laughed like a madwoman. During those 3 years in prison, I kept asking myself why all of you had wanted to harm me. Later, I figured it out. It really wasn't all of you who harmed me, it was me who harmed myself. If I had just left and gone home earlier, I would never have gone through any of this. I stopped laughing, stopped struggling, and just stared motionlessly into Erick's eyes. You're right. It was my own fault. I deserved it. This answer, which should have satisfied him, instead made Erick burn with anger. One hand clamped around my slender neck as he violently kissed my cheek, as though venting his rage. I didn't resist. Resistance was useless. From the sharpness of his breathing, I could tell that he really was aroused. It almost made me laugh. Back then, after I gave birth, he hadn't touched me for more than 2 years. I thought it was because he cared about the damage childbirth had done to my body. Later, even after I worked hard to recover, intimacy between us was still rare, and now he could get aroused by the very woman he had once had no desire to touch. Was Selena really unable to satisfy him over these past 3 years? I mocked him. What? Did Selena leave you hungry? So now you've come to me, desperate enough to claim your rights as a husband? Erick, who had been about to go further, suddenly froze. He gripped my throat hard, furious beyond measure. That's right. I am claiming my rights as a husband. You should be overjoyed. After holding back for 3 years in prison, I'm still willing to touch you. With that, Erick roughly tore open my clothes. The buttons burst apart under brute force, exposing my scarred body against my pale, emaciated frame. The sight was especially horrifying. When he saw it, Erick's hand flew back as if burned. The drive he had had only moments ago instantly collapsed. For a flash, there was pity in his eyes, but it was quickly swallowed up by disgust and pain. This is your own doing. You can't blame anyone else. Watching Erick leave with his steps slightly hurried, I pulled out a bitter smile. A body this ugly and filthy disgusted even me. Fortunately, it disgusted him too. I curled myself up tightly and covered my head with the blanket. Only then did I feel the slightest bit of safety, and gradually fell asleep. Chapter 10. I woke up in the morning to a burst of noise. Following the sound, I went to the window and looked out. Selena and Lucas were in the garden building a snowman and having a snowball fight. A picture-perfect scene of motherly kindness and filial affection. I didn't know when Erick had come up behind me. You should take the initiative to thank Selena. During the 3 years you were gone, she helped you take care of Lucas, so he wouldn't grow up lacking a mother's love. What kind of dog was barking? I withdrew my gaze and stepped back a few paces, putting more distance between Erick and me. There's one thing you forgot to mention. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been gone for 3 years in the first place. Erick's brows drew tightly together. How did you become this unreasonable and aggressive? You weren't like this before. Before? I tilted my head, stared into his eyes, and laughed. Then I picked up the bedside lamp and hurled it out the window with all my strength. Downstairs came the screams of Lucas and Selena. Erick grabbed my hand hard and shouted, "Are you crazy?" I put away my smile and said expressionlessly, "This is what I'm like now." Downstairs came Selena's whimpering sobs. Erick flung my hand aside and rushed down to the garden. I couldn't even summon the desire to watch the spectacle. Same old pattern, wasn't it? One person sobbing, one stirring the pot beside her, and one gallant protector. Downstairs, Selena sat on the ground, hugging herself pitifully. Erick, does sister-in-law hate me? Is that why she threw the lamp at me? Lucas puffed up with anger and tattled, "Dad, hurry and throw that bad woman out." Just now she almost hit Aunt Selena. The lamp had fallen on the steps. Still some distance away from Selena, Erick looked up toward the window, but no one was standing there anymore. He lowered his head again. Selena was still sitting on the ground crying miserably, and for some reason Erick felt a strange emptiness in his heart. The lamp slipped from my hand by accident. It had nothing to do with Diana. Selena, who had been crying in grievance, looked up in shock, then instantly resumed her pitiful expression and complained coquettishly, "Humph, Erick, you're too mean. If it had hit me, I'd have been done for." Playful, adorable, tolerant, generous, her performance was calibrated perfectly. But Erick didn't respond. Instead, he looked at Lucas. "Lucas, who taught you to call your mother a bad woman? Go copy the standards for being a good student 10 times. Lucas lowered his head and muttered, "She is a bad woman, 20 times. Bring it to me this afternoon so I can check it. If you dare say one more word, 100 times. Lucas didn't dare argue and ran off in a huff. Selena's heart skipped a beat. In the past, whenever Lucas called Diana a bad woman, Erick had never once disciplined him for it. Selena tested the waters and tried to persuade him. Lucas is still little and doesn't understand. Erick, if you do this, you'll only scare him and make him rebellious. Why don't I go talk to him and encourage Lucas to get along with sister-in-law? All right? No need. Lucas needs discipline, and only Diana can teach him that. Go back inside now. It's cold outside." Selena could only nod obediently. I understand." After Erick left, Selena's face turned gloomy and her fists clenched tight. Chapter 11. I locked myself in the bedroom the entire day and didn't step outside once. I only wanted to be left alone in peace. Yet trouble still came knocking on its own. It should have been the cook bringing in my meal. But when the door opened, it was Selena, carrying a tray and looking at me with blatant provocation. "Sister-in-law, I'm bringing you food. Why won't you let me in? Don't tell me you're afraid I'll eat you alive." I reached out and took the tray. I hate having that fox stink in my room. Get lost. Maybe because there were no chopsticks on the tray, only a spoon. Selena found some courage. But Erick really likes the way I smell. Oh, and Lucas says I smell like a mother too. Inside, I felt absolutely nothing. Oh, Congratulations on taking in someone else's used trash. I took the tray and prepared to shut the door, but Selena suddenly staggered back a few steps and fell to the ground, as if someone had pushed her. Wouldn't she get tired of this move? Couldn't she come up with something new for once? I ignored her, shut the door, and ate my meal. I could vaguely hear Selena's delicate crying outside the door, followed soon by Erick pounding on it. Because the door was locked from the inside, Erick pounded for a while, then even kicked it once. After that came the sound of a key turning in the lock. Perfect timing. I had just finished eating. I sat in the chair and looked at Erick standing in front of me. Selena was clinging to his arm, sniffling as she cried. Erick, don't blame sister-in-law. I was the one who lost my balance and fell. It had nothing to do with her. I nodded. At least you have some self-awareness. Your legs just don't work properly, so you fell on your own. Erick radiated icy hostility. After throwing me a glance, he turned to Selena with concern. Selena, you're too kind. That's why she bullies you. Looking at the two of them playing husband and wife in front of me, I answered without caring. I pushed her. I admit it. All right? If this had been before, I definitely would have kept explaining myself without end. Yet this time I admitted it so lightly that Erick froze for a moment, then put on an expression of so it was exactly as I thought. This time you didn't spew a pack of lies. Looks like those prison years weren't wasted after all. I'm quite satisfied. Prison. He kept bringing it up. Was he deliberately trying to provoke me? Did he want to see me get worked up and lose control over him again? Too bad for him. Then, if satisfaction is that easy, then let's just get divorced. You'll be satisfied. Your girlfriend will be satisfied. And of course I'll be satisfied too. Almost forgot, Lucas will be satisfied too. Seeing how lightly and indifferently I spoke, Erick restrained his anger and said, Diana, divorce is what you want. I will not let you get your way. If you want to satisfy me right now, it's very simple. Selena just hurt her leg in that fall. You can pay her back with one of yours. Selena felt somewhat frustrated. Divorce would have been so much better. Why did he have to tie himself down just to punish her? And how could Erick come up with such an impossible punishment? Diana wasn't stupid. How was she supposed to compensate with a leg? At the right moment, Selena put on her understanding act and persuaded him. Erick, I'm fine. Just have sister-in-law apologize. Before Selena could finish, I cut her off. Fine. It's only one leg. I'll pay. The moment the words left my mouth, I turned around and, without a trace of hesitation, leapt straight down from the second-floor balcony. Chapter 12. Selena's scream rang out instantly. Erick leaned over the balcony, his eyes fixed on the frail woman lying on the ground. The 5-meter drop left my lower leg fractured, twisted at an unnatural angle, blood soaking into the thin layer of snow. The piercing pain made me grit my teeth until my mouth filled with the taste of blood. My whole body trembled, cold sweat breaking out, and tears streamed uncontrollably down my face. Yet I did not let out a single cry. I looked up and saw Lucas standing in the doorway, his lips pressed together as he looked at me, cold breath spilling from my mouth. I shifted my icy gaze away. Before I could move more than a little, Erick scooped me up in his arms. At such close range, I could clearly hear his heart pounding fast. I turned my head away and closed my eyes. Only like this could I keep myself from showing an expression that might invite pity or sympathy. Feeling the person in his arms trembling violently, her tears soaking his collar, yet not making a single sound of crying, Erick felt as if someone were clutching his heart hard. He had only spoken in anger. As long as she had softened a little, that would have been enough. How dare she do this? She used to cry for a long time even when the turtle she raised died. Yet now she had jumped from the building without a moment's hesitation. Erick took me to the hospital after surgery on my lower leg, with metal pins inserted and a cast put on. When I woke up, it was already noon the next day. He seemed afraid I would run away, even though my condition called for hospitalization. He hired a private doctor to come care for me, and brought me back to the villa. After I returned, Selena was unexpectedly gone. Only Lucas sat quietly on the sofa while Erick carefully laid me down on the bed and tucked the blanket over me. You need to rest and recover. I made Selena leave. I murmured weakly. How heartless of you. To my sarcasm, Erick, unusually, said nothing more. That afternoon, That brat Lucas, for once, took the initiative to come find me. The bad woman, lying in bed. I watched Lucas stand at the doorway for half an hour. He didn't say a word, probably waiting for me to speak first. But why should I give him an opening? I wanted to see just how long he could keep standing there. In the end, he couldn't hold out and said in a bratty tone, "Hey, don't you have anything you want to say to me?" He didn't call me a bad woman again, but he was still asking to be hit. I only said one word softly. "Get lost." Lucas's eyes, so much like Erick's, instantly filled with tears. His mouth puckered and he ran off crying. My mood instantly improved. Chapter 13. While I was enjoying being alone, Lucas disappeared. By the time Erick told me, Lucas had already been missing for 3 hours. I didn't understand why he had hidden it from me for so long before finally telling me. Was he afraid I would blame him? Or afraid I would worry too much? When did he go missing? Seeing that my tone was flat, without the panic he had expected, Erick was absent-minded for a moment. The nanny went to wake him from his nap this afternoon, and he was gone. Did the surveillance cameras catch him going out? The exchange was like a procedural questioning. Erick wanted to see even the slightest trace of panic on my face. But when he found none, he only grew more irritable and started criticizing me. "Diana, do you even have a heart? Your son is missing and you don't even say a word of concern. Are you even a qualified mother? I know you have grievances, but our son is innocent. You disappoint me too much." Innocent? If we're talking about innocence, I'm the real innocent victim among the three of you. Compared with Selena, what I hate even more is the heartless betrayal of the man sleeping beside me. The one who stabbed straight through my heart was my own son, Lucas. And you still expect me to be a qualified mother? The moment he lied, I already treated him as dead. Erick clearly hadn't expected me to say something so heartless. His pupils trembled slightly as he realized I wasn't just saying it. I really did no longer want my son. Erick's tone softened a little. "You were always teaching Lucas to be a good child who doesn't lie. He did that. And now you blame him for not lying to help you. He was still just a child. What could he possibly have done to satisfy you?" A bitter smile tugged at my lips. "You know perfectly well what the truth is. There's no point in saying more." The two of us fell into silence like that. Suddenly, I remembered that when Lucas was 4, he loved playing hide-and-seek with me. He always hid inside the wardrobe in the storage room, waiting for me to find him and then bursting into laughter. Back then, he really had been quite adorable. Soft and tiny, always trotting behind me calling me Mom. I let out a sigh. "Go check the wardrobe in the storage room. He should be hiding there." Hearing the certainty in my tone, Erick was a little doubtful, but still turned and went to the storage room. Sure enough, curled up inside the wardrobe in the storage room was Lucas. What should have been a little secret hiding place shared between mother and child was opened instead by Erick. The expectant look on Lucas's face collapsed instantly. Erick yanked Lucas out with one hand. "This time you went too far. Do you believe I'll send you back to your grandfather's house?" Lucas didn't struggle or cry. He only kept looking toward the doorway, waiting for someone to appear. Hearing hurried footsteps approaching, the dimness in Lucas's eyes lit up. But the person who appeared was another woman. "Erick, let go of Lucas. You'll frighten him." A trace of impatience that even he himself didn't seem to notice entered Erick's emotions as he set Lucas down. "Selena, why did you come in this freezing weather? Are you cold?" Selena's little face had been reddened adorably by the cold wind. "I'm fine. I just heard Lucas was missing, and I was so worried that I ran over right away. Thank goodness Lucas is all right. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what I'd do." Selena reached out, wanting to rub Lucas's head to comfort him, but Lucas avoided her hand. Then he burst into tears and ran off. Chapter 14. Selena looked worriedly at Lucas's departing figure. Ever since sister-in-law came back, Lucas seems to have become more sensitive and more prone to crying. Then she covered her mouth with both hands, looking flustered as if she had said the wrong thing. "Sorry, Erick. That's not what I meant." Erick felt somewhat tired. Selena was right. Ever since Diana came back, there had been no peace in the house. "It's all right. I know you didn't mean it that way, but Diana is hostile toward you, and I'm afraid she'll hurt you again. So you should leave." Selena nodded obediently. I know. I'll go right now." As soon as she turned around, she let out a small sneeze. Out of habit. Erick showed concern. Your health isn't good. I'll drive you. Then I'll trouble you. The two of them came to the door. At some point, heavy goosefeather snow had begun to fall from the sky. Selena hugged her shoulders and shivered. It's so cold. With such heavy snow, the roads would be difficult. And it was already getting late. Erick hesitated for a while and then said, Selena, stay here tonight. Lucas likes you. So help comfort him, but don't go upstairs to the second floor. Selena smiled gently. I understand. Looking at the gentle Selena, Erick's memories stirred with thoughts of the old Diana, who used to smile often and cling to him. The breath between them during their intimacy, and the love, had all been real. So why had the two of them ended up at a point where there was no way back? Erick, what are you looking at? Is there something dirty on my face? Hee. Erick withdrew his gaze. No, you don't need to go comfort Lucas after all. I think what he needs more is the company of his biological mother. Selena's expression stiffened for a moment, then instantly returned to normal. I understand. Children that age need their mother more. Chapter 15. Erick brought dinner in. The moment he entered the room, I smelled the distinctive perfume of Selena on him. You were saying in broad daylight that she should leave. And before even one day has passed, you're already impatient to bring her back. What a pointless farce. Covering your ears while stealing a bell. I wrinkled my nose in disgust. After seeing my expression and movement, the corners of Erick's mouth lifted in a faint smile. Are you jealous? He disgusted me so much that I lost my appetite for eating. Then I suddenly noticed a sneaky shadow reflected on the floor through the crack in the door. I sneered inwardly. If you like peeking, then I'll let you watch to your heart's content. I lightly hooked my finger into the hem of Erick's shirt and smiled with deliberate allure. I'm jealous. So is my husband going to give me an explanation? Even though my looks were no longer as radiant as before, this body, personally sculpted by the system, had excellent features to begin with. And after not seeing each other for 3 years, it almost counted as newlyweds reunited. Sure enough, Erick's body reacted. Erick felt his throat grow a little dry, but he still restrained himself. Eat first. We can talk about some things later. I tugged slightly harder with my hand, and Erick was pulled in front of me with ease. I lightly rubbed my head against his abdomen. I want an explanation right now. Are you giving me one or not? The hand tugging at his shirt was clasped by his strong hand, while his other hand lifted my chin to tilt my face upward. Bending over, Erick pressed his forehead lightly against mine, his heavy breathing fanning over my face. If you want it, I'll give it to you. Erick's large hand cupped the back of my head and drew me closer. A lingering, urgent kiss fell on my lips, and he took the opportunity to press me beneath him and demand more. Every pore in my body resisted his closeness, but I wanted to discuss the two of them even more. Lucas told me to come find you because he had something to say. I didn't mean to interrupt you. The bedroom door flew open, covering her eyes. Selena ran off in a fluster. Panicked hurry. All I heard beside my ear was Erick cursing under his breath. Fuck. The mood was broken, and there was no way to continue. The bedroom door was still open, and my goal had already been achieved. I could clearly feel how bad Erick's mood was. I'm going to eat now. You can go out. Erick irritably buttoned up his collar. Take your time eating. I'll come clean up later. Once Erick closed the door and left, I quickly grabbed the glass of water beside me and rinsed my mouth. It was absolutely disgusting. Chapter 16. When I came to the dining table on the first floor, Selena was sitting there with reddened eyes, eating with her head lowered, looking deeply aggrieved. Erick was not in a good mood. Being interrupted in the middle of that kind of thing was an extremely bad experience, and as a result, he was feeling somewhat impatient with Selena as well. Where's Lucas? Didn't you say he was looking for me? Selena's voice carried a sob. Lucas ate and went to sleep. Erick's brows drew together slightly. He had always understood Selena's intentions. It was as if she had some kind of magic that made him want to get close to her, and he was always unable to refuse her. But deep down, he still resisted crossing that line. The real reason was that he still could not let go of Diana. Now that Diana had returned and was willing to accept a fresh start, this state between him and Selena should come to an end. After some time, I'm going to take Diana to the Maldives so she can relax. You don't need to come over anymore. Selena had originally been waiting for Erick to comfort her, But instead, what she got was Erick telling her goodbye. After the shock, tears streamed down her face. Is it because I didn't listen and went upstairs to the second floor? Did that make you angry? I'll have my secretary transfer $5 million to your account. As thanks for taking care of Lucas all these years. Finish eating and go to bed early. After saying that, Erick stood up, preparing to leave. Selena rose unsteadily, looking as fragile as if she might shatter at any moment. Did sister-in-law tell you to say this? Erick's steps paused for a moment. No, I decided this myself. Selena dropped weakly back into the chair, her fists clenched, teeth grinding in hatred. Damn Diana, you forced this on me. Chapter 17. At dawn, I jolted awake from a dream, my head splitting with pain. I raised my eyes and looked at the system countdown, 2 hours. Because I was about to leave this world. I could clearly feel my life rapidly draining away, my flesh and bones aching faintly. Outside the window, thick snow was falling. It reminded me of the joy of building snowmen with my mother when I was little. Dragging my plastered leg, I painfully made my way to the balcony to feel the bitter cold wind. I thought that leaving this world lying there between heaven and earth would not be such a bad way to go. Diana, you bitch. What did you say to Erick? I reached out to catch a falling snowflake and answered with something unrelated. Selena, do you really love Erick? Selena's eyes were full of venom. Of course I love Erick. If you hadn't cut in back then, the one who married Erick and had his child would have been me. Back then, she and the male lead had loved each other desperately, treating Erick as nothing more than a whetstone for their love. If I had not appeared, Erick would have followed the original plot long ago, hit by a car, crippled, ruined, and driven to suicide by throwing himself into the sea. What about Kevin? Back then, you said you loved him too. Kevin was the male lead in the book. At the mention of Kevin's name, Selena became agitated. Shut up. Don't mention that bastard. Heh, wasn't it just that? Without the second male lead interfering in their love, things had come too easily, and so they stopped cherishing each other? I knew perfectly well that Kevin had gotten a company intern pregnant, that Selena had even made a scene and attempted suicide over it, and that in the end, for reasons no one understood, she had run back here to relive the old days with her former simp. By chance, I glanced over and saw Lucas hiding behind the wall. By a stroke of fate, the scene from 3 years ago, when she forced the situation by jumping, was about to replay itself. A wicked smile curled at my lips. Since they had delivered themselves to my door, how could I possibly let them off? I deliberately provoked Selena. So what if Kevin just made the kind of mistake all men make? As the lawful wife, couldn't you be a little more generous? Selena's face flushed red with rage. I kept pressing harder. You got chased off by the mistress, so now you came slinking over here to be someone else's mistress. Ha ha ha. You really are shameless. Selena was so furious that she laughed. At least I'm better off than you. The man doesn't love you, and even your child doesn't want you. I looked up at the countdown. 10 minutes. Are you sure? Then why do I see some little rat sneaking around after spying, then scurrying back inside? Selena was successfully enraged. She raised her hand and slapped me across the face. Bitch. If you hadn't seduced him, Erick would never have touched you once. Selena wasn't afraid that Erick would discover the marks left by her hitting me, because there were no witnesses and no surveillance cameras. As long as she quietly slipped away, even if I accused her afterward, she could simply claim that I had hurt myself on purpose to frame her. Unfortunately for her, this time her plan would fail, and she would never have a chance to turn her life around again. I did not dodge the slap. It landed across my face with a sharp crack. I could clearly see the smug expression on Selena's face. I smiled too, and took the chance to pretend I had lost my balance. My body was already unsteady to begin with, and I staggered backward to the waist-high balcony railing, then fell from the 3rd floor. In that instant, I saw the terrified expression on Selena's face. How satisfying. Chapter 18. Blood spread across the white snow like blooming red roses. Through my blood-blurred vision, I could still see Selena lying over the balcony railing, clutching her mouth shut in horror. A maid discovered the crimson mess on the ground and let out a piercing scream. I saw Erick running toward me in a panic, slipping once on the wet ground. He wanted to lift me up, but when he touched the back of my head, his hand came away wet. The way he trembled in fear reminded me of the day I had successfully completed the mission. When he found out I was going to leave, he knelt on the ground and begged me. He said that without me, he would die. Diana, don't be afraid. I'm taking you to the hospital right now. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. But the moment he tried to hold me with even a little force, the pressure made me uncontrollably cough up a huge mouthful of blood onto Erick's spotless white shirt. Erick no longer dared touch me. Even the hand he used to call the ambulance was trembling. Selena struck first, crying as she ran downstairs and dropped to her knees. Erick, I'm sorry. Sister-in-law jumped from the building to kill herself. I couldn't hold her back. It's all my fault for being too weak. Then Selena added another sentence. But don't panic too much. 3 years ago Selena fell from the second floor and only broke her leg. This time sister-in-law fell onto snow. So maybe the injuries just look scarier than they really are. Shut up. After roaring at Selena, Erick tightly gripped my hand. I glanced at the countdown. 3 minutes. With effort, I forced out a sound. Lucas. Hearing that I wanted to see my son, Erick called out. Lucas was standing behind the crowd, trembling, not even daring to look at me lying there soaked in blood. From the expression on Lucas's face, from the way he could not meet my eyes, Erick sensed that there was something abnormal about this fall. Lucas, what did you see? Speak. 3 years ago, he lied and betrayed his own mother to protect Selena. What about this time? A lie this time would make him an accomplice in his own mother's death. Lucas's lips were trembling. He glanced at Selena. I saw. This jump was a scheme. Selena's whole body tightened, and she looked at Lucas with desperate hope. She didn't know exactly what Lucas had seen, but since he had lied once back then, surely he could lie again now. After all, she had treated him quite well over these years. For a long time, Lucas stammered and failed to say anything. In that instant, the last trace of feeling I had left for him snapped. At the side, a maid suddenly cut in. Sir, I was cleaning in the hallway opposite. I saw through the window that Madam was pushed downstairs by Miss Selena. Unexpectedly, there had been a witness to expose the false truth, and the taut string inside Selena finally snapped. Nonsense. I only slapped her once. She lost her footing and fell downstairs herself. What does that have to do with me? Realizing she had misspoken, Selena slapped a hand over her mouth. Now not even the yellow river could wash her clean. Countdown, 20 seconds. 20, 19, 18. Blood kept surging up in my mouth, using the very last of my strength. I looked at Lucas with eyes full of disappointment. That ungrateful child who could be won over and made to abandon his own mother with nothing more than a few candies and some fried chicken wings. If Erick was the executioner, then Lucas was the judge who pronounced the death sentence. I had given him one last chance. As long as he spoke the truth, before dying I would have said one sentence. Lucas, Mom loves you. After all, I had once loved him with my life. That motherly love had been real, but he retreated. I wanted him to live in guilt for the rest of his life. Lucas, the thing I regret most in this life is cough, giving birth to you. Lucas went ice cold all over, standing there stupidly in place. This time, he too got to feel what it was like when his mother had been betrayed and abandoned. Chapter 19. The ambulance arrived, and the medical staff immediately began emergency treatment. Lucas looked at his mother surrounded by the paramedics, hoping that once she got better, he would apologize properly. Mom had loved him so much before. She would definitely forgive him. Countdown, 3, 2, 1. Ding, host has successfully left the world. The doctor wore an apologetic expression. I'm sorry, sir. Your wife struck the back of her head, causing brainstem bleeding. Resuscitation failed. She has died. My soul drifted lightly free from the shell of my body. I saw Lucas collapse to the ground, crying and shouting. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Back then I lied on purpose. I'm the one who got you thrown into prison. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Selena grabbed Erick's arm like a madwoman, insisting that she had been framed and was innocent. Erick viciously slapped Selena across the face. You bitch. You killed my Diana. I'll make you pay with your life. Clutching her swollen cheek, Selena screamed hysterically, no longer looking in the least like the pure, ethereal girl untouched by the mortal world that she used to pretend to be. You blame me? Fine. Yes. I did some things, but the one who indulged me was you. You're the one who killed Diana. You, a man like you deserves to lose his wife." Selena's words made Erick, who had always been restrained and calm, go deathly pale. Deserve it? He had obviously loved Diana so much. So how had things ended up like this? Floating in the air. I watched as the ambulance carried away the corpse. I watched Erick, lost and broken, lock himself inside a room. I watched Lucas cry like a fool. I let out a deep sigh. Love that comes too late is cheaper than grass. This was the ending they deserved. A burst of light enveloped me. At last. I had come home. I woke from my vegetative state and saw my real parents. The ones who truly loved me. Epilogue. Later, when the system came back for a follow-up visit, it told me the people in prison who had bullied me were brought to justice. Selena died suddenly, and Erick, the prime suspect, jumped from a building and killed himself while being arrested. After Lucas was taken to his grandfather's house, his mental state became extremely unstable, and he was diagnosed with self-harming tendencies. Unless something unexpected happened, that condition would likely stay with him and grow more serious as he got older. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore.